today at the lovely Esney's Quarry in Shropshire, trying to film some carp underwater. And it's something I've been doing a lot for many years, but for the last year, 18 months with the Westin escape cams and explore cams. And they're a brilliant bit of kit. I must admit, personally these days I get as much enjoyment looking back on my phone at the footage that I've captured of the fish underwater and how they're behaving, almost as much as I do from actually fishing for them. It's amazing to see often how many fish are in your peg that you don't even realise are there. So I'll talk you through today what I've been doing with some of my other rigs and why the new Westin bottom fishing kit for the escape cam is so revolutionary and has really made the job on still waters like this so much easier for me. One of the things that I really enjoy is trying to work out different ways to use the escape and explore cams to capture different fish behaviour in different environments. And over the last year I've been everywhere from filming barbel on the River Trent to tench on gravel pits and estate lakes to rudd and pike, all sorts of things. And to be honest, I didn't have any kind of specialist kit, just a few cameras. And I most of the time I've made up a little rig for myself, which was just a big swim feeder, with or without a big weight if I'm fishing in a river, just to help hold it in place. And then literally just a camera zip tied to it. And one of the key points for using the cameras, if you're looking at using it close to the bottom, is it has to be raised off slightly. It's amazing how even a slight bit of silt or softness on the bottom and the camera will sink in and maybe face down very slightly and you won't get the picture you want. That worked fine, but it's not ideal. What you really want is a camera that's raised up a little bit off the bottom, looking at the rig and the bait. That just gives you such a clear picture, because if there's any strands of weed, siltweed or anything in the way, or leaves on the bottom, anything like that, soft silt, having that camera raised a little bit just works so much better. And that's where the new bottom fishing kit really comes into its own. So this is the bottom fishing kit. It works with the escape cam, and it contains all of the components that you need to rig it up if you want to see what's going on close to the bottom. So here's one in Blue Peter fashion that I set up earlier, and I'll just run you through the components and how to rig it up. At the far end, we've got a quick change leg clip, which I'll either put a lead on or a swim feeder, and I'll talk a bit more about that later. And then the first section of tubing, now it comes with 1 metre of tubing, and you can adjust the length of the tubing really dependent upon the clarity of the water. If it's a little bit murky, I find it works much better if you shorten the tube down, and a good starting point really is around 15 centimetres on each of the lengths of tubing. So this first part is tungsten tubing, which will sit nice and flat on the bottom. We've then got a small sliding bullet weight, which again acts as a bit of a counterpoint, an anchor point there to balance the camera. And then another 15 centimetres. Now this is a buoyant tube. So what's going to happen is when you tighten up to the rig and then release a little bit of slack, counterweight will sit on the bottom, anchored down as well with the tungsten tubing, and then the camera will come and sit just off the bottom in a perfect place to look at what's going on around the lead and the rig. And then just to hold the camera in place, we've then got a plug which we can just lightly push into the rubber sleeve, bring that up tight to the end of the tubing. Now that's important because what we've put is a flotation onto the camera, so we don't want it floating up and moving out of position, so we just need to hold it in position. Then onto the stiff tubing, we've got a tungsten bead, which again, just adjusting the position of that bead there alters the angle of the camera so you can get it spot on, looking down towards what's going on around the bait that you've got on the lead end. So it takes a little bit of rigging up and a little bit of finessing, especially adjusting the length of the tubing, just based more on the water clarity really, more than anything else. And obviously the further away you've got the camera from the anchor point, the bigger the field of view you're going to get, but you do have that trade-off with water clarity, so worth experimenting with that. Because we've got a quick change leg clip on the end of here, it's very easy just to clip a rig on and off you go, you're ready to go fishing. But it gives me that perfect angle with the camera on the bottom where I can see what the fish are doing. The other thing that I tend to do is I like to create a focal point of bait around the lead, or it could be a swim feeder, around the point that the camera's facing at. Now again, what I'm trying to do is really draw fish in and improve my chances of filming some fish activity right where I want it, right in front of the camera. So a couple of ways you can do that. If you've got a carp rig on with a lead, easy thing to do, just clip on a PVA stick of pellets or crushed up boilie, something like that. And another tactic I use is, rather than use a lead, I'll just use a swim feeder instead. Nice heavy one, so I can anchor it in place. And again, with that, filled with paste or a ground bait mix, softened pellets, again, just gives that focal point. So when it's sat on the bottom, you've got the fish will be coming in and investigating that just with the camera in the perfect place to film what's going on. And you can get some really, really nice behaviour and see how your swim develops. I mean, it's surprising a lot of time how quickly fish start coming in and investigating the spot, often within minutes. So much quicker than I often suspected that they did. So I hope that makes you want to go out with one of the Explore cams or an Escape cam and try a bit of underwater filming for yourself. It really is so addictive and interesting to see what the fish are doing underneath the surface. Often so different to what we think from looking out at a swim, what's going on there, especially with the fish moving in very quickly oftentimes, but it can be a long time before they settle down and they get confident enough for us to get a bite. Really interesting. So I've got a lot of filming I want to do over the next year or two, but my concentration now that the days are getting shorter and the water temperature's starting to drop is going to be pike and zander, I think, over the next few months, and I think that'll be really interesting. Some of it will be with the bottom fishing kit to just get that really nice angle and field of view of what's going on, especially with big fish like pike. And other rigs, you know, I'll be still experimenting with other setups and other ways of setting the cameras up as well. So hopefully that's something we can bring to you in the future. But thank you ever so much for watching. I hope that's inspired you to get out and try it for yourself, and we'll see you again soon.